Millionaire surprises by responding to Black woman and her twin sister's Christmas gift request. Ethan Blackwood, a name that echoed through the marble halls of Manhattan's elite, was known for closing deals, not Christmas. The holidays were a yearly migraine, a sharp jab of memory he'd rather forget. His penthouse, usually humming with the quiet efficiency of his staff, felt like a walk-in freezer this December. Outside, the city was a dazzling, glittering lie, a Christmas card explosion that only amplified the hollow ache in his gut. Then came the package, brown paper, held together with more tape. Then skill, addressed in the kind of looping script that only a kid could manage. "Mr. Santa Helper," it read. Intriguing. Ethan Blackwood didn't do intrigue. He did hostile takeovers. But something about the sheer audacity of the thing made him pause. Inside, a drawing. Crayons bled across cheap paper, depicting a Santa who looked suspiciously like a cheerful potato. Below it, a note, penned in the same shaky hand. 2 names, Lily and Daisy Johnson, Brooklyn. They were worried Santa might miss their building this year. Could he, Mr. Santa Helper, make sure he found them? Brooklyn, a different world. A world away from the sleek lines and sterile perfection of Ethan's existence. He should have tossed it, written it off as a child's fantasy. But he didn't. That afternoon, against every logical impulse, he was driving. The tires of his Bentley crunching on the unfamiliar grit of a Brooklyn street. The address led him to a faded brick building. A string of fairy lights clinging hopefully to a window. Peeling paint. A world of difference from his own. He hesitated. What was he doing? This was insane. The door opened. A woman. Sarah Johnson. Wariness etched on her face, but her eyes, they held a fire. A quiet strength that stopped him in his tracks. He stammered, a ridiculous story about delivering a message from Santa. She looked surprised, wary, but she invited him in. And then there were the girls, Lily and Daisy. Identical, all bright eyes and boundless belief. Questions exploded, a flurry of excitement about reindeer and elves and the magic of the North Pole. He spent an hour lost in their world. A world of wonder, of genuine, unfiltered joy. A world he thought he'd lost. He told stories, silly stories about Santa's mischievous elves and the importance of believing. He laughed, really laughed, for the first time in years. As he left, Sarah mentioned the struggle, the multiple jobs, the constant worry. On impulse, he offered her a job, something vague, community outreach at Blackwood Industries. She accepted, a spark of hope igniting in her eyes. Back in his penthouse, the city lights felt different. He'd disrupted his life, his carefully constructed routine, and he didn't know why. The next morning, a package arrived at his office. Anonymous. Inside, a single withered rose. A note. The past never stays buried. Ei, antes de continuarmos com essa história incrível, preciso te fazer um alerta importante. Muitos inscritos têm relatado que o YouTube removeu suas inscrições sem aviso. Dá só uma conferida rápida no botão vermelho aí embaixo para garantir que você ainda está inscrito no canal. Não quero que você perca nenhum conteúdo exclusivo que vem por aí. E já que você tá aí, Deixa aquele like poderoso que me ajuda muito com o algoritmo. E me conta nos comentários de qual cidade você está assistindo. Adoro conhecer cada pessoa incrível que faz parte dessa comunidade. Sua participação faz toda a diferença. Vamos interagir. Back in his penthouse, the city lights felt different. He'd disrupted his life, his carefully constructed routine, and he didn't know why. The next morning, a package arrived at his office, anonymous. Inside, a single withered rose. A note, "The past never stays buried." Ethan frowned. The past? He'd thought he'd buried it deep. Really deep. Who knew? He tossed the rose in the trash. Just some weirdo. Probably. He tried to focus on work, on the endless spreadsheets and the upcoming merger. But Lily and Daisy's faces kept popping into his head. Their laughter, the way their eyes lit up when he talked about Santa's reindeer. He was losing it. Sarah started her job that week. Community outreach. Sounded fancy, but really, it was about making Blackwood Industries look less like a heartless corporation. She was good at it. Actually good. People liked her. Ethan found himself stopping by her office more than he needed to. Just to chat. To hear about her day. About the girls. One afternoon, he walked in and she looked pale. Scared. "Ethan," she said, her voice barely a whisper, "there's something you need to know." He sat down, a knot forming in his stomach. "About the girls," she continued, her eyes welling up. "About their father." Ethan waited, bracing himself. He figured it was bad news. Always was. He's getting out. Out? Out of where? Out of prison, Ethan. He's being released next month. Prison? Okay, that was not great. What had he done? Sarah took a deep breath. He was convicted of manslaughter. He killed someone. Ethan's mind raced. A manslaughter conviction? How long had he been in? And why was Sarah telling him this? "Ethan," she said, her voice cracking, "the person he killed, it was your wife." The room spun. His wife? His dead wife, Emily? Killed by Lily and Daisy's father? It couldn't be. It just couldn't be. He stood up, knocking his chair over. "What? That's impossible." Sarah was crying now. "It's true, Ethan. His name is Daniel Johnson. He was drunk. He ran a red light. Emily she was gone instantly." He remembered the funeral. The raw, unbearable pain. The emptiness that had consumed him for years. And now he knew who was responsible. And he'd just hired his killer's wife. He'd been laughing and joking with his killer's daughters. He looked at Sarah, her face streaked with tears. He wanted to scream, to break something, to disappear. I didn't know," she sobbed. "I swear, I didn't know who you were. He never told me anything about the accident. He just said it was an accident, that he was so sorry." Ethan turned and walked out, not saying a word. He needed to get out, to breathe, to think. He drove to the cemetery, to Emily's grave. He stood there, staring at the stone, the rain soaking through his coat. He closed his eyes, remembering her smile, her laugh, the way she used to brush his hair off his forehead. And then, a voice behind him. "Nice of you to visit." Ethan turned. A man stood there, leaning against a tree. He was tall, with a worn face and sad eyes. "Daniel?" Ethan asked, his voice barely a whisper. The man nodded. "That's right. Daniel Johnson, Lily and Daisy's dad. He smiled, a chilling, unsettling smile. And you must be Ethan, Emily's husband. Funny how things work out, isn't it? Nice of you to visit. Ethan turned. A man stood there, leaning against a tree. He was tall, with a worn face and sad eyes. Daniel? Ethan asked, his voice barely a whisper. The man nodded. That's right, Daniel Johnson, Lily and Daisy's dad. He smiled, a chilling, unsettling smile. And you must be Ethan, Emily's husband. Funny how things work out, isn't it? Ethan felt the blood drain from his face. He couldn't breathe. This couldn't be happening. Funny? He choked out. You call this funny? You killed my wife! Daniel shrugged. Accidents happen. I paid my debt to society. Paid your debt? Ethan repeated, his voice rising. You think a few years in prison makes up for taking a life? For robbing me of everything? Daniel took a step closer. Look, I didn't mean for it to happen. I was young, stupid, and I'm sorry, okay? I'm truly sorry. Ethan stared at him, rage simmering beneath the surface. He wanted to lash out, to hurt him, to make him pay. But something stopped him. He saw the sadness in Daniel's eyes, the weight of guilt he carried. The girls, Ethan said, his voice shaking. Do they know? Do they know what you did? Daniel shook his head. No. Sarah made sure of that. They think their mother died in an accident too. I wasn't going to ruin their lives any more than I already had. Ethan looked away, the rain plastering his hair to his forehead. He didn't know what to think, what to feel. He'd spent years hating a faceless monster, and now, here he was, standing in front of him. A broken man, a father, a killer. Why are you here? Ethan asked. Finally, why did you come here? Daniel hesitated. I wanted to see her, one last time. And I wanted to see you. I wanted you to know that I'm not a monster, that I regret what happened every single day. Ethan didn't say anything. He couldn't. Daniel sighed. I'm leaving tomorrow. Going somewhere the girls will never find me. I just wanted to say goodbye. He turned to leave. Take care of them, Ethan. They deserve a good life. Ethan watched him go, his mind reeling. He was about to say something, anything, when he heard it. A car, speeding down the road, headlights blinding. Before he could react, Daniel was thrown into the air, a sickening thud echoing through the cemetery. Ethan screamed. He ran to Daniel, who was lying motionless on the ground, blood pooling around him. The car sped away. No one in sight. Ethan knelt beside Daniel, his hands trembling. Daniel! Daniel, can you hear me? Daniel's eyes fluttered open. He looked at Ethan, a faint smile on his lips. She's waiting, he whispered. Emily, she's waiting for me. And then his eyes closed. He was gone. Ethan stared at the lifeless body, his mind numb. He didn't understand. Who would do this? And why? Then he saw it, a glint of metal in Daniel's hand. He reached down and carefully pried it open. It was a photograph, a faded, worn photograph of Ethan when he was a kid, standing next to a woman with fiery red hair and a mischievous grin. His mother. Underneath the photo, a name, scrawled in messy handwriting. Payback's a bitch. Ethan's blood ran cold. His mother? But she died years ago, or so he thought. He looked around, The cemetery, suddenly feeling cold and sinister. Someone knew. Someone knew about his past, and they were coming for him. Ethan's blood ran cold. His mother? But she died years ago. Or so he thought. He looked around, the cemetery suddenly feeling cold and sinister. Someone knew. Someone knew about his past, and they were coming for him. He had to get out of there. Now. He left Daniel's body lying in the rain, a cold weight settling in his stomach. He raced back to his Bentley, tires spitting gravel as he tore out of the cemetery. His penthouse felt like a prison. He couldn't think straight. His mother? Alive? And seeking revenge? It was insane. He poured himself a stiff drink, the whiskey burning a path down his throat. He needed information. He needed to know what was going on. He called his lawyer, Barry. Barry, I need you to dig up everything you can find on my mother. Everything. Dates, places, records, anything. Barry sounded confused. Ethan, your mother passed away years ago. What's this about? Just do it. Barry, and keep it quiet. He hung up, his hands shaking. He paced the floor. The image of that faded photograph seared into his brain. Sleep was impossible. He spent the night staring out at the city, the glittering lights mocking him. He felt like he was trapped in a nightmare. The next morning, Barry called back. Ethan, I've got some information for you. It's complicated. Complicated? That was an understatement. Your mother, Eleanor, she didn't die when we thought she did. The death certificate was faked. Apparently, she went into hiding. Changed her name. Why? Ethan asked, his voice hoarse. I don't know yet, but I did find something else. Something disturbing. Eleanor had a criminal record. Fraud, embezzlement, and attempted murder. Ethan's head swam. Attempted murder? Who? There was a pause. Your father, Ethan. He felt like he'd been punched in the gut. His own mother tried to kill his father? What kind of family was he from? Barry, find out everything you can about this attempted murder. I need to know why she did it. He hung up, his mind racing. His mother, a criminal, a would-be murderer, and now, apparently, a vengeful ghost from his past. Suddenly, his phone rang. Ethan, I don't know what to say about Daniel. Her voice was choked with tears. It's not your fault, Sarah, he said, trying to sound reassuring. You didn't know. But the girls, what am I going to tell them? Their father, he's gone. He closed his eyes, picturing Lily and Daisy's bright faces. He couldn't bear to think of them losing their father, even if he was responsible for Emily's death. I'll take care of them, Sarah, he said. I promise. I'll make sure they're okay. Thank you, Ethan, she said, her voice trembling. Thank you. He hung up, feeling a flicker of something. Hope? Redemption? Maybe, just maybe, he could find some peace in helping those little girls. He stood up and walked over to the window, looking out at the city. The lights seemed a little less mocking now, a little less cold. That's when he saw it. A figure standing on the rooftop of the building across the street. A woman with fiery red hair and a rifle. She raised the rifle to her shoulder, sighting it directly at his window. Ethan froze, his heart pounding in his chest. Then He saw something that made his blood run colder than ice. Standing next to her, holding her hand, were Lily and Daisy. They waved. They waved. Ethan's world tilted on its axis. Lily and Daisy, with his mother, pointing a rifle at him. It couldn't be real. He blinked, rubbed his eyes, but they were still there, smiling, almost innocently. He grabbed his phone, fingers fumbling, dialed 911. "I need the police. I'm at Blackwood Penthouse, 5th Avenue. There's a woman with a rifle. She's got kids. She's going to." He couldn't finish the sentence. The woman, his mother, lowered the rifle slightly. She gave him a look he couldn't decipher. Was it triumph? Regret? And then Lily and Daisy started singing, "Twinkle, Twinkle, Little Star." Ethan's blood turned to ice. What kind of twisted game was this? He dropped the phone, ran to the window. He had to stop them. He had to save those girls. Suddenly, the lights in his penthouse went out. Everything plunged into darkness. He stumbled, tripping over a chair. He heard a crash, then another. Someone was inside. He scrambled for a weapon. Anything. His hand landed on a heavy glass paperweight. He gripped it tight. A figure emerged from the shadows. He swung the paperweight with all his might. A scream. A thud. He fumbled for his phone again, using the screen as a flashlight. He pointed it at the figure on the floor. It was Sarah. Her eyes were wide with terror. A trickle of blood ran down her forehead. "Ethan, what have you done?" she gasped. He stared at her, his mind reeling. "Sarah, what are you doing here? What's going on?" She struggled to sit up. They made me do it. Your mother, she threatened Lily and Daisy. She said if I didn't help her, she'd..." Sarah started sobbing. Ethan knelt beside her, his heart pounding. "Made you do what, Sarah? Tell me." She took a shaky breath. She said she'd tell Lily and Daisy who their father really was, what he did. She said she'd make sure they knew. He killed your wife. Ethan's head swam. His mother was using the girls as leverage to get to him. "Where are they now, Sarah? Where are my mother and..." "The girls," Sarah pointed weakly towards the hallway. They went up to the roof to get a better shot." Ethan stood up, rage burning in his veins. He had to stop them. He had to save Lily and Daisy from his own mother. He raced towards the hallway, leaving Sarah bleeding on the floor. He burst through the door and sprinted towards the stairs that led to the roof. He threw open the rooftop door and stepped outside. The scene that greeted him was beyond anything he could have imagined. His mother stood there, the rifle, still in her hands. But she wasn't pointing it at him. She was pointing it at Lily and Daisy. The girls were tied to chairs, their faces streaked with tears. "Mommy," Lily cried, "are you going to hurt us?" Ethan's mother smiled, a cold, cruel smile. "Don't worry, sweethearts. I'm just going to teach Ethan a little lesson. A lesson about the past. A lesson about payback." She turned to Ethan, her eyes blazing with hatred. "You thought you could forget about me, Ethan? You thought you could bury the past? Well, the past never stays buried. And now you're going to pay the price." She raised the rifle again. This time, she wasn't aiming at him. She was aiming at Lily. She raised the rifle again. This time she wasn't aiming at him. She was aiming at Lily. "No!" Ethan screamed. He lunged forward, but it was too late. A shot rang out. But Lily didn't fall. Daisy did. His mother hadn't been aiming at Lily. She'd been aiming at Daisy, and she'd pulled the trigger. Everything went silent. Lily stared at her twin, her eyes wide with disbelief. Then she screamed, a long, piercing scream that echoed across the rooftop. Ethan's mother just stood there, the rifle still smoking in her hand. Her face was blank, empty. "Why?" Ethan whispered. "Why would you do this?" His mother didn't answer. She just looked at Daisy's lifeless body, a strange calmness settling over her. Then she turned to Ethan, a flicker of recognition in her eyes. "Ethan," she said softly, "don't you see? It had to be this way. She was contaminated, like you." Ethan didn't understand. Contaminated? What was she talking about? Suddenly, Lily started coughing, a dry, happing cough that shook her entire body. She clutched at her chest, her face turning pale. "Lily," Ethan cried, rushing to her side. "What's wrong?" Lily looked up at him, her eyes filled with fear. I can't breathe," she gasped. "It hurts. It hurts so much." Ethan cradled her in his arms, his heart pounding in his chest. He looked at his mother, pleadingly. "What did you do to her?" His mother just smiled. "A little something extra, a little surprise. You see, Ethan, Daisy wasn't the only one who was contaminated." Ethan felt a chill run down his spine. What had she done? What had she given them? Lily's coughing grew worse. Blood trickled from her lips. Her eyes rolled back in her head. "Ethan," she whispered, her voice barely audible. "Help me." And then her body went limp. Ethan stared at Lily's lifeless face, his mind numb with shock. Daisy was dead, and now Lily too. Both of them gone. He looked up at his mother, his eyes filled with rage. "You monster!" he screamed. "What did you do to them?" His mother just laughed, a hollow, chilling laugh. "I gave them what they deserved, Ethan. What you all deserve. A clean slate, a fresh start." She took a step closer, her eyes burning with fanaticism. "Don't you see, Ethan? This is the only way to purify the world, to rid it of the contamination, to start over." She raised the rifle again. This time, she was aiming at him. But before she could pull the trigger, a voice rang out. "Eleanor, stop!" Ethan and his mother turned to see Sarah, standing at the entrance to the rooftop, a gun in her hand. Her face was pale, but her eyes were filled with determination. "Sarah?" Ethan said, his voice barely a whisper. "What are you doing here?" Sarah didn't answer him. She just kept her eyes fixed on Eleanor, her hands steady on the trigger. "Eleanor," she said, her voice trembling, "put the gun down. This has to stop." Eleanor laughed. "You think you can stop me, Sarah? You think you can save him? He's contaminated too, just like your daughters." "They weren't contaminated," Sarah shouted. "They were innocent. And you killed them. You killed my babies." Tears streamed down Sarah's face. Her hand tightened on the gun. "I loved you like a sister, Eleanor. I trusted you, and you betrayed me. You used my children to get to him. I did what I had to do, Sarah, for the greater good. There is no greater good, Eleanor, Sarah screamed. There's just death and destruction, and you're responsible for it all. Sarah took a deep breath. Her voice was shaking now, but it was steady. I can't let you do this, Eleanor. I can't let you hurt anyone else. She raised the gun, aimed it at Eleanor. I'm sorry, Eleanor, she whispered. But this has to end. And then Sarah pulled the trigger. But instead of hitting Eleanor, the bullet struck something else. Something behind her. Something that made Eleanor scream. Something that made Ethan's blood run colder than ice. Because standing behind Eleanor, her eyes wide with confusion, was a little girl. A little girl who looked exactly like Lily and Daisy. A little girl who shouldn't have been there. A little girl who whispered one word before collapsing to the ground. Mommy? Mommy? Sarah gritou. Grito de gelar a alma. Ela correu até a menina, que estava caída no chão, e a pegou no colo. A menina era a cara de Lily Daisy, só que era diferente, mais velha, uns 10 anos talvez. Quem é você? Ethan perguntou, a voz tremendo. Ele não entendia nada, absolutamente nada. Eleanor sorriu, um sorriso doentio de vitória. Essa, Ethan, é Hope, minha neta, filha de Emily. O mundo girou. A neta dela? Filha de Emily? Mas Emily não podia ter filhos. Ela tinha problemas. Problemas sérios. Não pode ser. Ethan balbuciou. Emily, ela não podia. Ah, podia, Ethan. Podia sim. Ela só não queria que você soubesse. Tinha vergonha. Achava que você não a amaria mais se soubesse. Mas eu sabia. Sempre soube. E protegi Hope. A minha Hope. Hope abriu os olhos. Olhou para Sarah. Depois para Ethan. Um olhar perdido, confuso. Vovó? Ela perguntou a voz fraca. O que aconteceu? Eleanor acariciou o rosto da neta. Tá tudo bem, querida. Tá tudo bem agora. Eu te protegi. Protegi você dele. Ela apontou para Ethan. Ele ia te machucar, como machucou sua mãe, como machucou a mim. Ethan não aguentava mais. Era muita informação. Muita loucura. Ele precisava sair dali. Precisava respirar. Sarah, ele disse, a voz embargada. Eu sinto muito. Por tudo. Por Daniel. Por Lily e Daisy. Por Hope. Ele se virou e saiu correndo. Deixou Sarah com Hope nos braços e Eleanor com seu sorriso de vitória. Deixou tudo para trás. Ele correu até a rua, sem rumo. Precisava sumir. Precisava recomeçar. Mas de repente parou. Alguma coisa não fazia sentido. Alguma coisa estava errada. Emily nunca tinha falado sobre a mãe. Nunca. Dizia que ela tinha morrido quando era criança, que não se lembrava dela. Se Eleanor era a mãe de Emily, por que Emily nunca tinha falado dela? E por que Eleanor estava tão obcecada em vingança? O que tinha acontecido entre ela e Ethan? E principalmente, por que Hope estava ali? O que ela sabia? Ethan precisava de respostas, e ele ia encontrá-las, nem que fosse a última coisa que fizesse. Ele respirou fundo, virou-se e começou a andar de volta para o prédio. Ele não ia fugir. Ele ia enfrentar a verdade. Mas quando chegou na frente do prédio, uma fita amarela da polícia bloqueava a entrada. Vários carros da polícia estavam estacionados na rua. As sirenes gritavam. Um policial se aproximou dele. Senhor, não pode passar. É uma cena de crime. Eu sei, Ethan respondeu, a voz firme. Eu moro aqui. O policial olhou para ele, desconfiado. Qual o seu nome? Ethan Blackwood, ele respondeu. O policial arregalou os olhos. Você é Ethan Blackwood, o milionário? Ethan assentiu. O policial suspirou. Senhor Blackwood, preciso que venha comigo até a delegacia. Temos algumas perguntas a fazer. Ethan seguiu o policial até o carro. No caminho, viu uma ambulância saindo do prédio. Ele olhou para dentro e viu Sarah, deitada em uma maca, com os olhos fechados, e ao lado dela, Eleanor, algemada, com um olhar vazio. Mas e Hope? Onde estava Hope? Na delegacia era um caos. Policiais para todo lado, luzes piscando, gente gritando. Ethan foi colocado numa sala fria, com uma mesa de metal e 2 cadeiras. Um detetive grandão, cara de poucos amigos, entrou na sala. Ethan Blackwood, né? Bilionário, filantropo. Que bagunça, hein? Ethan não disse nada. Estava em choque. Lily e Daisy mortas. Sarah ferida. Eleanor presa. Hope. Ele nem sabia o que pensar sobre Hope. O detetive continuou. Vamos lá, Ethan. Me conta tudo. Desde o começo, sem omitir nada. Ethan respirou fundo e começou a falar. Contou sobre a carta, sobre as meninas, sobre Sarah, sobre a oferta de emprego, sobre Daniel. Contou sobre a Rosa, sobre a chantagem, sobre Hope. Contou tudo. O detetive ouviu em silêncio, anotando tudo num bloquinho. Quando Ethan terminou, ele suspirou. É uma história maluca, Ethan. Preciso te dizer. Mas tem algumas coisas que não batem. Ethan franziu a testa. Como assim? Eleanor Blackwood, sua mãe. A gente pesquisou. Não tem nenhum registro de ficha criminal. Nada de tentativa de assassinato contra. Seu pai? Nada. O mundo de Ethan girou de novo. Como assim? Barry tinha confirmado tudo. Mas meu advogado, ele encontrou os registros. O detetive deu de ombros. Talvez ele tenha se enganado. Talvez alguém tenha plantado essas informações. Não sei. Mas o que sei é que não tem nada comprovado. Ethan estava atordoado. Nada fazia sentido. E tem mais uma coisa, o detetive continuou. Hope. A tal Hope. A gente não encontrou nenhum registro dela. Nenhuma certidão de nascimento. Nenhum documento. Nada. É como se ela não existisse. Ethan sentiu um frio na espinha. Não podia. Sir, ele tinha visto a menina. Ele tinha falado com ela. Ela existe. Eu juro. Eu a vi. O detetive olhou para ele com pena. Ethan, você passou por muita coisa hoje. Talvez esteja confuso. Talvez. De repente a porta da sala se abriu. Outro detetive entrou, com um rosto tenso. Detetive Miller. Temos um problema. Miller, o detetive que estava interrogando Ethan, se levantou. O que foi? A senhora Johnson. Sarah. Ela acordou. O coração de Ethan disparou. E como ela está? O detetive hesitou. Ela está delirando, falando coisas sem sentido. Mas ela disse uma coisa que você precisa ouvir. Miller olhou para Ethan. Ela disse que você é o pai de Hope. O silêncio na sala era palpável. Ethan sentiu como se o chão tivesse sumido sob seus pés. Pai? Ele? De Hope? Impossível. Completamente impossível. Não pode ser. Ele gaguejou. Eu nunca. Ela disse que Emily era obcecada por você, que ela fez de tudo para te ter, inclusive mentir sobre a paternidade de Hope. Ethan sentiu um nó na garganta. Emily, a mulher que ele amou, tinha mentido para ele a vida. Toda? Ela disse que Eleanor sabia de tudo e que sempre odiou você por isso, que ela te culpava pela infelicidade de Emily. Ethan não conseguia respirar. As peças começaram a se encaixar. A obsessão de Eleanor, a falta de registros de Hope, A mentira de Emily. Tudo fazia sentido agora. E de repente ele se lembrou de algo. Algo que Emily disse uma vez, muitos anos atrás. Uma frase solta, sem importância na época. Meu pai nunca me amou. Ele sempre amou mais a minha irmã. Irmã. Emily tinha uma irmã. Uma irmã que ninguém nunca mencionou. Uma irmã chamada Eleanor. A porta se abriu novamente. Dessa vez era um médico. O médico olhou para Ethan com um semblante grave. Senhor Blackwood, a senhora Johnson está querendo vê-lo. Em um transe, Ethan seguiu o médico até o quarto de Sarah no hospital. Sarah estava deitada na cama, pálida e fraca, mas seus olhos estavam focados e determinados. Ethan, ela disse com dificuldade, eu preciso te contar uma coisa. Ethan se aproximou da cama, seu coração batendo forte. O que foi, Sarah? Sarah respirou fundo e olhou para ele com tristeza. Eleanor, ela não é sua mãe. Ethan sentiu um choque percorrer seu corpo. O quê? Como assim? Sarah fez um esforço para continuar. Sua mãe se chamava Emily Johnson. Ethan, ela disse com dificuldade. Eu preciso te contar uma coisa. Ethan se aproximou da cama, seu coração batendo forte. O que foi, Sarah? Sarah respirou fundo e olhou para ele com tristeza. Eleanor, ela não é sua mãe. Ethan sentiu um choque percorrer seu corpo. O quê? Como assim? Sarah fez um esforço para continuar. Sua mãe se chamava Emily Johnson. O silêncio era ensurdecedor. O quarto girava. Sarah tossiu, a testa enrugada de dor. Não entendo, Ethan sussurrou. Você está dizendo que Emily era minha mãe? Ela assentiu, um fio de sangue escorrendo pelo canto da boca. E Eleanor era sua irmã, gêmea. Emily e Eleanor, irmãs, e uma delas era sua mãe. Aquilo não fazia o menor sentido. Era como se estivesse caindo num abismo sem fim. Elas esconderam isso de mim a vida toda. Ele perguntou, sentindo faltar nos pulmões. Sarah fechou os olhos por um instante, como se reunisse forças. Elas tinham medo. Medo de você não aceitar. De você não amar Emily, se soubesse a verdade. Que verdade? Ele gritou, a voz embargada. Que inferno de verdade é essa? Sarah abriu os olhos novamente, fitando-o com uma intensidade que o assustava. A verdade é que você e Emily, vocês eram irmãos. O mundo explodiu. Uma dor lancinante rasgou seu peito. Uma dor que ele nunca havia sentido antes. Impossível. Não podia ser verdade. Ele e Emily, irmãos? Não pode ser, ele murmurou, as lágrimas escorrendo pelo rosto. Eu a amava tanto. Sarah estendeu a mão, tocando o rosto dele com a ponta dos dedos. Eu sei, Ethan, eu sei. Mas elas achavam que era a única maneira de ficarem juntas, de te protegerem. Proteger? Proteger de quê? De quem? Ele não conseguia entender nada. Sua vida inteira era uma mentira, uma farsa cruel e imperdoável. De repente, a porta do quarto se abriu e o detetive Miller entrou com uma expressão sombria no rosto. Ethan Blackwood, você está preso pelo assassinato de Daniel Johnson e Eleanor Blackwood. Ele olhou para o detetive, atônito. Eu não fiz nada, eu juro. Miller não se moveu. Temos evidências que comprovam sua participação nos crimes. E temos uma testemunha. Testemunha? Quem? Quem poderia testemunhar contra ele? Então ele viu. Parada atrás do detetive, com um sorriso gélido no rosto, estava Hope. Os olhos dela, antes tão confusos, agora brilhavam com uma maldade inexplicável. E na sua mão, ela segurava uma arma, apontada diretamente para ele. Surpresa, papai, ela disse, a voz carregada de sarcasmo. A mamãe mandou lembranças. Surpresa, papai, ela disse, a voz carregada de sarcasmo. A mamãe mandou lembranças. O tiro ecoou. Não acertou Ethan. Acertou Sarah. Ela caiu. Os olhos arregalados, surpresa e dor misturados. Hope sorriu, um sorriso frio. Queime no inferno, Ethan, ela sussurrou. A polícia invadiu o quarto. Tiros, gritos, confusão. Ethan viu tudo em câmera lenta. Hope caiu, atingida por uma bala. Miller algemou Ethan, que não ofereceu resistência. No carro da polícia, a caminho da delegacia, Ethan pensava em Emily, em Eleanor, em Lily e Daisy, em Sarah, em Hope, em toda a sua vida, que se revelara uma mentira. Chegou à cela, frio e desolado. Deitou na cama. Aquele era seu fim. Mas de repente ouviu um barulho. Uma voz familiar. Ethan, ele se virou. Era Daniel. Daniel? Mas você estava morto. Daniel sorriu. Não, Ethan. Eu apenas simulei minha morte. Precisava proteger as meninas. Proteger de quem? Ethan perguntou, confuso. De você, Ethan. De sua família. De sua loucura. Daniel se aproximou, os olhos sombrios. A verdade, Ethan, é que você sempre foi o problema. Você e sua sede por poder. Você e sua maldade. Daniel sacou uma faca. Adeus, Ethan. A escuridão. Ou não. Um clarão forte o despertou. Onde estava? Um quarto branco, cheirando a éter. Acordou, finalmente. Uma voz disse. Era um médico. Onde estou? Ethan perguntou. No hospital, Sr. Blackwood. Você sofreu um grave ferimento na cabeça. Ficou em coma por meses. Coma? Então, tudo tinha sido um sonho? O médico sorriu. Um pesadelo, eu diria. Mas está tudo bem agora. Você está seguro. Seguro? Ethan olhou em volta desconfiado. Algo não estava certo. Minha família, Sarah, as meninas, o que aconteceu? O médico hesitou. Prefiro que você descanse, Sr. Blackwood. É muita informação para processar. Não! Eu preciso saber. O médico suspirou. Tudo o que você precisa saber é que você está sozinho. Completamente sozinho. Sozinho? Ethan? Sentiu um aperto no coração. Mas ele não podia estar sozinho. Ele tinha. De repente, a porta se abriu. Uma mulher entrou no quarto. Uma mulher com um sorriso doce e familiar. Ethan, ela disse, a voz suave. Que bom que você acordou. Estava com tantas saudades. Ethan a olhou incrédulo. Era Emily. A mensagem final e crucial para você. Pare tudo o que está fazendo agora. Você precisa se inscrever imediatamente neste canal. Não deixe para depois. O futuro da nossa história depende de você. Esmague o botão de like agora. Mostre seu apoio, alimente o algoritmo e prove que você é um verdadeiro fã. Este é o momento para demonstrar sua lealdade. Inunde a seção de comentários com suas reações insanas. Queremos saber o que você achou desse final explosivo. Compartilhe suas teorias malucas e mostre que você entendeu tudo. Não espere nem mais um segundo. Compartilhe instantaneamente este vídeo com pelo menos 5 amigos que precisam conhecer esse desfecho aterrorizante. Apenas os verdadeiros fãs compreendem a importância de apoiar o canal com estas ações. O destino da nossa saga está em suas mãos. Faça a sua parte. O futuro começa agora.